we never thought we would. It's PHNX Suns, and it starts in 30 seconds. It's PHNX Suns. I'm Espo. That's Gerald. That's Flex. And that's Stephen. Yeah, Stephen's in the house.
Yeah. About time.
Special guest will be with us the next 2 days. But I want to say hi to Ashley, Skeeter, Maze, Eli, Brian, Leo, and anybody out there that is one of our diehards. We appreciate you. Thank you for being part of the chat today. And if you want to become a diehard, go to gophnx.com. We got plenty for you when you become one. Gentlemen, you know what, Eric, I didn't tell you this, but we need the breaking news sounder. Yeah, we do. There is breaking news, and it's not that Steven's here.
Breaking news.
The Suns have added players. The Valley Suns, that is, as the expansion draft in the G League has taken place, and there are some names that you're going to recognize here. Teo Maledon is back. Emmanuel Mudiay is a member of the Valley Suns, as is Jahlil Okafor and Denzel Valentine. We got some names that you're going to recognize out in Tempe this fall. I think that's about all we'll get out of them, but you're going to recognize those names.
I love it. I mean, it's nice to see names that you recognize, like obviously Teo back with the Suns. He didn't really get much run last year being on the two-way contract and the roster being what it was, but he's a younger guy who's been around the league a little bit, and getting him the opportunity to get his feet wet and see what they can get out of him is a lot of fun. And then you got guys like Denzel Valentine or Mudiay and Okafor, who both were playing in Puerto Rico last year for some pretty
Boricua, stand up.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's
he was
go.
playing for the Piratas de Quebradillas.
Yeah,
for
I know them.
Mudiay,
I know them.
and then the Capitanes de Arecibo for
Arecibo.
Okafor. Yeah. So I love that.
My squad's the Ponce Lions, just so y'all
yeah?
know. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my squad.
Which
got any
one's the
swag?
one Phil Jackson coached?
Ponce Lions.
It was the one.
You got any swag?
Yeah, I mean, no, I ain't got no swag. I ain't got no swag, but
Birthday present idea.
Clothing
all
wise.
right. I got. I'm gonna hook you up, G. I'm gonna go out there to the
I
island.
was talking
get
about
some-
for you.
Oh, I'm gonna get you some too. Since
Okay,
you
let's do
mentioned
it.
We're out, Steven. Sorry, we got to get our own gear.
That's cool with me. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
I mean, it's nice to see some of these guys get a second chance. And Stephen, we were talking about this, that's part of the opportunity with the G League. It's not just about young player development. That's a big part of it, but it also gives some of these guys who had a chance in the league another opportunity to potentially get back in.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me is there's just so much talent out there that you just naturally don't have enough spots to facilitate to everybody. So naturally with the expansion comes opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, what you do with that opportunity that's on you. But if you've been putting in the work, like I think the perfect person I'm thinking of is Denzel Valentine.
Yep.
The way his tenure ended with the Bulls, the inconsistencies, the rumors and what have you that came from his tenure there, he wasn't going to get another opportunity elsewhere. But naturally, with the expansion, opportunity's been presented. You could say it might be by way of just the alumni status that he has with that he shares with owner Matt Ishbia, but at the same time, you also know he hasn't stopped playing basketball since then. It's a perfect opportunity for him to, in a brand new situation, potentially give himself some reclamation.
Yeah.
Like I said, what he does with that remains to be seen, but I think that opportunity being presented just speaks to where the league is trying to get to.
Couldn't
Hold
agree
on,
more.
hold on. Are you saying that Matt Ishbia likes guys from Michigan State?
No, I'm saying that Matt Ishbia absolutely loves guys from Michigan State. You got to put that right adjective in there.
I like it. I like it. I'm with you, dog. I'm with you. I think this is cool for Denzel. I know Denzel to be a really cool guy and a great human being, and he's been around the league, so he gets this opportunity. I love it for Teo. I really do. I think this is an opportunity for him to go down there and with the younger squad, put in some work. And again, he had the experience last year, so that's gonna be cool for him. I'm just waiting for the time where the fans start saying, "Hey man, we got Jalil down there, bring him up." Like, you know, I'm waiting for that, man. That's gonna be crazy. And Moutier gets a shot. So I also would there's gonna be some undrafted free agents that are not gonna get drafted. They're probably gonna be part of this group, and so we still got some work to do before we get to the finished product. But this is cool.
I do wonder if we'll see any of these guys. Probably not the vets, maybe
Summer League
as well, because
Yeah.
it's an additional ability to get kind of ingratiated in the system, get a chance to get familiar with. I imagine at least a few potential G League coaches or guys that they will announce on that G League staff will be part of Summer League as well. So an opportunity there. Look, we will talk wing prospects and the draft here for a big part of our show, but I wanted to get into something that was bugging me. I know it's a shock. Something bothered me. I know for all of you that
Tell them
know
why
me
you're
that
mad.
long. So, but obviously the Mavericks last night went down 3-0 in the NBA Finals to the Boston Celtics, and I am about to do something I never imagined I'd do on this program or anywhere, quite frankly. I'm going to defend Luka Doncic.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I am, because
Breaking news.
Espo defends Luka Doncic. No, look, to me, we saw the aftermath of Game 3 turned into what amounted to the national media piling on Luka. And well, there's a small part of me that was like, yeah. There's a large part of me that went, we've seen this film before, and it feels very much like we saw happen with Devin Booker, right? Mm-hmm. You wind up going 2 weeks ago, Luka, potentially best player in the NBA, or him and Kyrie, one of the greatest backcourts in the league right now, to he's fat, he can't defend, he complains too much. Like, my favorite was you heard freaking Colin Cowherd go, is he just a slightly better Carmelo Anthony?
No boy.
Right? Why do we turn on a dime so fast on these guys? Mm-hmm. I understand. Yeah, he whines a lot. Guess what? He has since the day he came into the league. He has all playoffs. It wasn't like it just started last night or in these 3 games in the finals. Guess what? He's never been the greatest defender in the world. That didn't just start. Oh, and very much like Devin Booker, was injured during these finals too, which I know he's not the greatest defender, but you have to imagine that plays part in why he's not necessarily the fastest first step right now and not being in the greatest position. I think some of that, not all of it obviously, has to do with that. And we heard the same criticism of Devin Booker over the last handful of years. Mm. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to complain that the national media is doing that to Devin Booker, I think you have to acknowledge the same things happening to Luka Doncic.
I totally agree. I also have to appreciate the fact that even defending Luka Doncic, you come out and say, well, he's always been a whiner and a bad
But that's the thing, though. People are acting shocked as if these are things that you're going to hold against him. And it's like, but I mean, we know Devin has always complained about calls, and that's fine. That's part of the NBA,
right? And
always has been, right? No. And some guys just aren't going to be the greatest defenders, and you accept that. That's always been part of the game. So it's not. I don't mean that as massive slights. I mean the whiner thing, maybe, but you know.
No, I know, and I think here in the finals, it's a situation where people are kind of clutching their pearls a little bit more because it's so much more noticeable on this stage. Because the defense, the way that Boston is attacking him, it's literally like any points he's scoring on one end, they are going at him on the other end. But I also think it's important to acknowledge that dude is clearly not 100%.
Hell
Watching
no,
the way that
close.
he's moving out there, we saw it all throughout the playoffs leading up to this series, how Luka and Kyrie were so engaged defensively. I don't believe that he just reverted to terrible tendencies for this one series against a team, by the way, which is much better than anything that they saw coming out of the West. So I think that's part of it. I think part of it is just acknowledging that Boston's really good. Part of it is it can be 2 things at once. Like Luka was fantastic and the Mavs had a great run getting to the finals, but they're going through a buzzsaw right now that is the Boston Celtics. They're just a better team. It doesn't have to always be, well, we got to tear one down to lift the other one
That's
up.
right.
We did this same shit a few weeks ago with Anthony Edwards. Everyone's singing his praises, and then as soon as the Timberwolves fall on hard times, it's like, no, we were wrong. He's terrible. He wasn't that good all along. We need to get in a better habit as fans, as media, as people who consume the game of appreciating and uplifting good things instead of always seeking to tear down bad things when players come up short. Because guess what? There's more talent. There's more talented teams in the NBA than there ever has been. And what Luka has done this playoff run has been magical. It's been very special to watch. It's been fun to watch, unless you just don't like Luka and the Mavs, which I get. We're a Suns podcast, so I'm sure there's some of you out there. But like, we don't have to do this every time. The dude's still averaging 39 and 6 in the series. I get that he's been bad defensively and that the complaining is a lot, and that he's given up transition opportunities on the other end, but that is not making the difference in this series.
No.
They're still going to get worked by Boston because that's who the Celtics are.
Boston's very good. Listen, I'm thinking of a song right now. My boy Jay-Z. Go back and listen to the Hard Knock Life album. There's a song in there called "It Was All Good Just a Week Ago." That's what I'm thinking. That's what in my mind I'm hearing. Like Luka would, again, man, we gotta stop going to the extremes on both ends. Right? When Anthony Edwards is having a fantastic 3-week run, man, praise Anthony Edwards. Give him the love he deserves. But don't call him Michael Jordan, because you're setting him up for failure. Because then he has a bad series, and it's like, well, this guy's thinking, no, man, he's one of the greatest players on planet Earth. But the extremes is what bothers me, how you go from 0 to 100 in a week. Like, Luka Doncic is one of the best basketball players you will ever see in your damn life if you live 300 years. He's so damn good, it's hard for me to explain. But he's playing against a Boston team that is built to match up better with him. They don't have to send two on the ball. They got numerous guys they can send at him one-on-one. They take away his passing lanes. The guy's got 2 bum knees right now. Like, he's struggling, and like G said, he's having 36 and what? 36
39 and 6.
39 and 6, man. Come on. Like, basketball is a team sport. And when you get to this level of basketball, the very end, the war of attrition, which is the NBA Finals, you're dealing with the scars and the cuts and the bruises of everything it takes to get there. And that amplifies things, and that's what Luka's going through. But in no way, shape, or form am I going to sit here and shit on Luka Doncic for his team being down 3-0. Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you can... Okay, and Stephen, I'm sure you agree with this, but you can be critical of what's going on in the series, but it's the vast swing from this guy, best guy in basketball, to he's fat and he shouldn't be he shouldn't be considered even great right now. Like it's that vacillating pendulum that bothers me the most.
Welcome to high take culture, gentlemen. That's the climate we're in.
You're wrong. No,
correct. And loudly and with the both fingers pointing yes. There might be another one that might not be as nice pointing that shit in that as well. You know, that's the space we're in. It's unfortunate because there's so much great basketball taking place. These entire I've seen people saying like this is like the worst playoffs ever. I'm like, that's just because that's the things that you just decided to look at.
Right.
There's been so much great, like, yes, we're a PHNX Suns podcast. Me and Gerald, we talk basketball all the time. We talked about on the Take That for Data podcast, like, we know we're a Suns podcast, but you can't get to speaking to the flaws and the weaknesses exuded by the Suns without acknowledging the greatness that took place on the other end of things from the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's right. And that's it right there. There's a balancing act there. Like, yes, you can acknowledge, like Espo said, you can acknowledge the lack of whatever that might be taking place with Luka. You can attribute it to whatever. It's a multitude of things, but you can attribute it to whatever. But just make sure that you're balancing that out with acknowledging the greatness that the Boston Celtics are putting on display. The class that they're moving with, the coaching adjustments on the fly, the attention to detail, the different types of help that they're showing, the scheme that they literally haven't seen all playoffs in the Dallas Mavericks, and not being able to get to opposing teams' forwards and centers because their forwards and centers can guard you as well as their guards can, you know? And then manipulating things differently on the other side of the ball. Like, I'm not trying to go too much into detail, but there's entirely too much comprehensive basketball at the highest level, like you said, and you said, taking place on the grandest stage. You can't just neglect all of these other things just because you want to focus on what's going to get you clickbait.
That's right.
And last thing I'll say on this is I want everybody to think about the last time you saw a piece of content or a video online that was good work, that was quality, that was balanced, that was reasoned, that you then uplifted. I think a lot of us we need to deprogram ourselves from this, but we go online looking for things to be mad about, looking for things to react to, looking for videos to quote tweet because we're angry or we disagree with what's being said. And instead of wasting our time and energy on that, just ignore it and look for content that you like, support that, share that, because that is the only way that this space is ever going to change in terms of actually holding some of these talking heads accountable, because it's just a hot take of the day. They don't care. They don't even remember what they're saying half the time because they're waffling faster than egos on it. Like, you have to.
That's a bar.
How
That's a
fast are
bar.
ego?
Forget Jay-Z. Oh, not right. We got G money here, dog.
But I'm serious. Like, if you have a writer or someone who's on a pod or someone who's on a show that you like, that does good work, make sure that you quote tweet their stuff and you share their stuff, because that's the only way this is ever going to change.
Can I translate that?
Yeah.
Gerald said, like this show, subscribe, share it, and share his articles is what he was saying.
right.
Yes.
Hey, real quick, Laking Ball. That's a great point right there. Joe Mazzulla was a joke last year. How about now? Right? This is why you don't get caught in that mess, man. You gotta look at what's in front of you, analyze the situation, take it for what it is, and not be so quick with the hot takes, because Joe Mazzulla is a damn good coach. He about to get a ring.
I got a hot take. We won't be saying the same thing about Vogel next year. Anyways, can we go back to being a regular Suns podcast? Let me just say, get stuffed, Luka and the Mavs. We couldn't. We got to go back to who we really are. But I just had to get that Luka stuff out there, right? So you know what? Steven's here for a good reason. We got a big PHNX event tonight that we're looking forward to. Our takeover. I'm sorry, it's sold out, but these are the kind of events that make it so great to be a diehard. You wind up getting a discount to come out here. You get to hang out with great people. I mean, Steven came all the way from Chi-Town to hang out with us tonight. So be part of it. And our next big event that we got coming up is our trivia night on the 20th at Chicken and Pickle out in the West Valley. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have tapped the mayor, Derek Montilla, to host a trivia night from 7 to 9 p.m. You can sign up at gophnx.com in the events tab, and it's going to be all Arizona sports trivia. You're going to be able to come out, win some prizes, have some great food, enjoy an evening with all your friends at PHNX over at Chicken and Pickle. So looking forward to it. Plus, one last thing. It's all housekeeping. We got to do a little bit of it. We got a great new shirt collection that I want you to get, right?
We do.
It's the Valley collection. I love the taco truck. We were debating if we opened a real taco truck, what would the tacos be named for each team? What would they be named for each individual? I don't have any great ideas yet. The chat can weigh in on this. I think we could call a zone taco where all the pieces
I fuck with zone tacos.
I think it should be all the pieces are deconstructed around the plate and with the tortilla just sitting there. It's
Hey, if it's zone, I like it.
And all great shirts there. So go to the PHNX locker and check it out. And like I mentioned, Chicken and Pickle, we're going to be out there on the 20th. And I love Chicken and Pickle. It's one of our newest sponsors, but we've been out there a couple times and it is unbelievable. Indoor pickleball courts. When it's nice out, they got the outdoor pickleball courts. They have some fantastic food in their sports bar area as well.
Deep fried pickles.
Yeah, the deep fried pickles on point. And the chicken, the deep fried chicken was good.
I didn't have that.
No, you didn't? The chicken was the chicken
Yeah,
was good.
hold on. This sounds like somewhere I need to go on here. Hold on.
Well, you're not. Yeah, you got to come back for a longer period of time.
Okay, cool.
Because it's out in the West Valley, so we'll take you out there.
For sure.
By the way, yes, Eli wants to know the quesadillas were served and they were good as well.
Okay.
So and the taco truck, our taco truck will have the espadilla, as Eli says, as well. But Chicken and Pickle has got you covered. I want to see you out there for the trivia night, but I want to see you out there for some pickleball too, because we've gotten addicted to it here at PHNX, even leading to us old men getting real aches and pains. But it was well worth it because it's a lot of fun out there. So head to chickenandpickle.com to see all the fun you can have at their Glendale location. And then if you need some money for your pickleball and for your chicken,
I do.
fried pickles,
I do.
Our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union will take care of you, Jaylon.
How much can they give me?
They can give you $200.
$200,
baby.
You know how many fried pickles you can buy with $200?
That's a lot of pickles, man.
I don't
That's a
know
lot of
because I don't
chicken
do
and
math
pickles.
well, but it is a lot.
It's like 8 chickens and 10 pickles.
Full chickens or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna start a farm with this $200. If you want to start a farm, our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union can help take care of you though, because they are great. They have mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, anything that you want to make your financial future brighter, they can help you with. And they've been doing it for 84 years. Getting choked up. They've been doing it for 84 years here.
Titanic meme.
I was actually about to cough. 84 years here. They have been fantastic in the community, and they take care of you and yours. So be a part of it and get your free checking account online today and get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Well, we talked about chicken there, but now we're going to talk about wings, right?
Ooh, okay.
Look at that.
Ooh, I like
Nice.
that. Another bar,
We're
dog.
going to take a look at some of the wings that the Phoenix Suns might be looking at in this draft. Now, keep in mind, this is at number 22. This isn't projecting, a big trade or a trade back. This is looking at where they are currently. And Gerald, you went in depth on this and picked 5 guys that you think could make a lot of sense for this team. We'll get into the list, but what was kind of the methodology that you used on the article today?
Yeah, so I love to consult a lot of different mock drafts to see where certain players are tabbed to go in this draft, because it doesn't make sense to be looking at guys that probably aren't going to be available at that spot. They could trade up. We talked about this yesterday. There's a possibility that they could look into that, but every team could look into that possibility as well. So if they stay at number 22, I just want to be thorough in giving people an example or a few examples of who could be available and where they could help, where they wouldn't help. And to be honest, like my takeaway, I was much more optimistic last week when we did the big men that might be available at 22 than I was looking at the wings, because if you look at this roster, when it comes to wings, you need size, you need defense. Obviously 3-point shooting is always helpful, but a lot of the guys that we're going to talk about today don't check all of those boxes. So something to bear in mind as we're going forward. I think you draft the best possible player that's available when you get to your pick, rather than trying to look at position, especially if it's wing.
Stephen, though, at 22 and flex, you can weigh in here too. At 22, I think you're going to have to accept a guy that doesn't likely check all the boxes that you're looking for, right? Because, I mean, you are lower in that first round, and in a draft that isn't necessarily top heavy.
That's right.
You're going to wind up having some guys with flaws.
Yeah, it's a flawed draft position to have. And that's why I was kind of off the camera. We were talking about whether I actually believe they would keep it or if they would try to trade back, like Espo had mentioned, and we just really just looking at it. Like, I'm curious. I just want to kind of lob a question to y'all, just for isolation. What would y'all do with that pick if it was your personal? If it was your personal choice, would you draft one of the players that we had, assuming they would be available? Would you trade back to try to get more picks in the second round? Would you try to get a win now type of player if you could?
Yeah, I've been all over this board, and I've looked at the scenario in which you move up. There are 2 or 3 guys that I've nailed to the point where I'm like, okay, if I move up, these are the 3 guys emphatically that I would attack or try to go after. And then you have the scenario at 22 that we're talking about, where you mentioned something, you're not going to check all the boxes at 22. But as an evaluator, what I want to do is I want to check as many boxes as possible. And the ones that I can't check, do I have the potential in this player to eventually check those boxes? Can I teach him? Can I develop him? If he's not that defender right now, is he young enough and have the ability to be coached up to become a better defender? So at 22 is tricky because that is a sweet spot. It's kind of a weird spot in this draft, but it's a sweet spot. But then to answer your question, dude, I think there's a strong possibility that the Suns could move back and maybe do 2 things. Maybe get a guy that checks some of these boxes, and then a guy that is a complete project, and say, you're not there yet, but we think you could get there later. And so by acquiring that second pick, we get another crack at it or 2 swings at the bat. So we're tough draft to evaluate, but I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and I think real quick, Joe, I think the caveat with that project piece, You have your own G League
That's
team that you
right.
can keep them in-house. You can inherit, have them in a somewhat similar system. You're not going to be running the exact same copy and paste things, but having something similar that helps with the skill development, because when they are league ready, the integration is not going to be as drastic. It's going to be,
That's
makes a lot more
exactly,
sense.
Stephen, and that's why I wanted them to call them the Valley side pieces, but they didn't.
The Valley side pieces. Oh my God.
Man.
No, to answer your question, we've been spending the last few weeks going through different trade scenarios, like packaging number 22 with Nurk or Nasir Little. And the conclusion that I'm coming away with is there are deals that maybe you could swing, but a lot of them are either unrealistic or they don't make you better to the degree that you need to get better. So for me, I think you need to be flexible. You need to see what's available on draft night, but I wouldn't be opposed if they just kept the pick, because I do think, and we've talked about this, like the best player from this draft could very well come from the teens or from the early 20s. Depending on how the picks are unfolding, if you have a guy that's coming to you that you really like and you can stay there and get him, do that. If you're surveying the landscape and you think, you know what, if we trade down a few picks, maybe snag an extra second rounder in the process and we can still get our guy, let's do that. We know James Jones hasn't really done that historically. Right. He's been very gung-ho about, if my guy is there, I'm taking my guy at that spot. But you got to know what you're working with and where certain guys might get drafted so that you can properly assess those assets and kind of, maybe snag an extra one in the process.
Yeah. For me, I'm 100% sold on the idea of trade up. If you've got 2 or 3 guys in this draft that you think help make you better now and can be a part of your future, and you have them on a controllable contract, trade up and make the move now if you can. And now, obviously, it takes 2 to tango. You got to find the other team that's willing to do it. But I think that's the most prudent move to do if you really believe in 1 or 2 of these guys, and you can get into that back half of the lottery to land them. If you're at that point, I think you do that. And I want a guy that can help now and help in the future. And I know that's greedy, but you
got to hit on that.
But
got to hit.
But that's the thing. You're at a point you're all in now, anyways. So you got to hit on anything you do this off season. So if you believe in it, go do it, because you need to win on cheap contracts. Like,
can I just add something real quick to that? To your point. It's a risk. If you move into the top 10, you can't take Jaylon Smith. You got to hit on this pick. But in the Suns situation where you're dealing with minimum contracts, right? You got to fill out the roster with minimum contracts. You're not allowed to bring in certain players because of salary. My thought process is, if I had to choose between 2, and it's a top 10 NBA prospect versus a flyer on a vet minimum, and I got that guy under a first-round deal for 4 to 5 years with options and potential to grow, you're not going to find anything better than that out in the open market in free agency or vet minimum. So they're in a spot where if you're going to do it, this is probably the situation to do it, because you can maximize what you can do based on it being a young talented player on a rookie deal.
Yeah, well, let's get into these wings. Keyshawn George from Miami is the first guy we're going to take a look at here. 6'7", with a 6'10" wingspan. You can see the stats on the screen. Average 7.6 points, 3 rebounds, 2.2 assists. Shot about 43%, but 40%, almost 41% from 3. What was it that stood out in particular about Keyshawn that you wanted him on the list?
I think it's the shooting with the potential to be a playmaker. Like, obviously he's got good size with the 6'7" and the wingspan and everything. He was not a guy that was playing a ton for the Hurricanes. Right. So he's more of a project. And that's kind of why I have him lower on my list, not necessarily in terms of what he could become, but in terms of what role he's going to fill with the Suns right away. So that's kind of why I have him a little bit lower, but he's a guy that grew up playing point guard and then hit a growth spurt. So he's got some of those guard skills, and you can see it with the way that he navigates some pick and rolls, the way that he finds guys in the pocket, that sort of thing. And like I said, the size, the shooting, like, he's a very confident shooter. So those are all good things that you can build on. His draft range is kind of all over the place. Some of the mocks had him as high as the late lottery. Some of them had him in like the 29 to 32 region. So he could be available. He might not be. But he's an interesting prospect if you have the patience to develop him. For me, that's why I put him a little lower on my list.
I love you, G. This is why I like having these talks with you, man, because this is the bread and butter of it, man. This is what I like. So this kid, first of all, he's a damn shooter.
Yeah.
He's a shooter that's got what I call in the gym range.
Yes.
He walks in, he'll be at the logo. He don't give a damn. He got confidence. He'll let it go. He's 20 years old. He's a freshman in Miami, 20 years old. The point that G nailed that needs to be super emphasized is that he was a point guard. Was a point guard that grew, had a growth spurt, had that transition, but kept some of that ability. When you watch him on tape, you see the creation, you see the vision, you see the potential for this guy to be much more than just a three-point shooter. And if you can combine that ball handling and shot creation, now the actual ability to shoot the basketball becomes a bigger weapon, right? It's one thing to be able to shoot the ball. It's another thing to have the defense scared that you're going to shoot the ball with the ability to put the ball on the ground.
Right.
That's what I love about this kid. And again, I would say this. If the Suns were able to get this kid, my preferred way of doing it would be to drop back a little bit. Because I do think he can slide past 22.
Okay.
Might be able to get this kid somewhere around 24, 27. So if that's the case, and you could pick up another second rounder, that'd be fantastic.
I like Keyshawn's game. It's the layers for me. And by layers, for people that might not necessarily understand what I mean, I always process it as, and then what? So the three-point shooting is maybe his prized skill at the moment, and then what? So if they take that away from you, do you have something else you can go to? The context you provided, Gerald, with him having a point guard background, doesn't matter what level of point guards you play, you are going to process the game a certain way. You're going to, in terms of like court mapping and understanding scenarios and how advantages can be created, you're going to process things a little differently. Now, yes, there's going to be an integration period going from the collegiate level to the professional level with the athleticism, the strength, the schemes, all of that stuff. But there, at the template, at the foundation is a point guard. And naturally, you put him in a position where he's going to be drafted by a team that he's not going to be the main advantage creator on.
Right.
So if he's playing off of advantages that a superstar, the likes that Miami doesn't have, is going to put him in positions to create off of. Now you're starting to play to the advantages that this player has at their foundation, going past just the shooting again, talking about layers. And when you get a player that is multifaceted like that, even if you don't necessarily see it in the collegiate film, but you're aware of it based off of doing your diligence and your research, that's something that can really add to everything that you're trying to build. And when you're talking about skill development, when you find those kind of just like Easter eggs that are just kind of laying at the bottom of the basket with all this other stuff going on, you're able to find those things, you can invest in them, plant those seeds, let them grow. Now you got a surprise that other people didn't necessarily know about to the extent that you did.
That's right.
Yeah, I love the fact that this guy has no conscience when it comes to shooting. He shot
That's
60.
important.
What was it? 68% of his shots were from deep.
From deep.
I mean, that's insanity. Like, when you think about it. And I love that because what did we talk about last year? You need to get 35 to 43s up a game and hit a good percentage. This kid obviously has no problem doing that. My concern is, to your point, how long does it take to develop him? Can you afford to invest in that right now with the way you're constructed and what you're trying to accomplish? And if you believe that maturation process can happen pretty quick and he can start as just a guy that can help you from deep and then grow, but could help you this year with that, I'm okay with it. But I'm kind of scared away by the one and done and the fact that this may be a much longer process than you need.
Yeah, and he's only 20 years old, so I think it's going to take him some time. The flashes are definitely there, like the way that he hits rollers with a pocket bounce pass or zips the ball to corners for open three-point shooters. Those are all things that can translate, but to your point, like he does need to get a little bit stronger to handle wings at the next level, I think. And most rookies you could say that about, but it is interesting. 91% of his shot attempts came from either three-point range or the rim. So in terms of shot profiles that you would like to add to the Suns, that's pretty close to what we want.
He's a college version of Royce O'Neal, right?
Can he make him at the rim though? Because
he was
Royce struggled with that. Remember?
Yeah, he only shot 57% at the basket, which is not. But at the college level, you got to give him a few percentage points there. But yeah, he's going to need to grow into his body and handle that contact a little better.
Yeah, he's a guy I like to refer to as an NBA jam. style guy.
Yeah.
It's either that three or it's dunking it. It's
That's
nothing.
fair.
in
Nobody
between.
shooting mid range in NBA Jam.
Yeah, nah, that's real.
I mean, I used to try. It didn't do any good. It was a real
That's when I
bad
used to come and
strategy.
punch it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
free throw line extended. You know,
Yeah.
that was always fun. Our next one is Johnny Furphy from Kansas, 6'8", 202 pounds, another freshman out of Melbourne, Australia. He averaged 9 points, 4.9 rebounds and assists, shot almost 47% from the floor, 35% from deep. What made this guy intrigue you?
Yeah, again, it's the shooting for me. You look at the 3-point percentage and it's only 35%, but he's a guy that he's got the stroke and it should translate to the next level. And he's got the size at 6'9" to be able to get his shot off against just about anybody at the next level. And he's a movement shooter, so he moves a lot. He's constantly moving, which is something the Suns could use, especially with all the attention that's on the big three. If you have a guy that's zigzagging every which way, that's a good cutter on the baselines. And I think he shot 80% at the rim. So he's a good finisher despite not being an out of the gym athlete. Those are all things that I think could appeal to the Suns, but at the same time, I do think there are concerns about his defense, his athleticism a little bit. He's bouncy, but he's going to have to learn defensively to handle wings that are quicker and stronger at the next level. And, the 3-point percentage, it has to be better at the next stage. I think it will be. But he, like Keyshawn George, is a little bit more of a project for me. So that's why I had him a little bit lower.
Can I? Okay, bouncy, but not athletic. Can you break that down for me?
He's not
I'm
quick.
neither athletic or bouncy. So
He's not quick. Like he'll on the break, he runs in transition, which is a good thing for him. He puts it all into that. He gets dunks in transition, but in the half court setting, he's not a guy that's going to take 2 steps, elevate, and dunk on somebody.
In traffic, yeah. No traffic bounce, clear lane bounce.
Yes.
That's pretty much what it comes to. Listen, this one. So I have George a little higher than him. Okay. And I have the privilege of having a son who's a Kansas Jayhawk fan, so we watch all the damn Kansas games. So this guy, he can shoot the basketball. But there's a little bit of an inconsistency about his game that for my liking was a little bit too prevalent this year. We would see him and he'd go 3 for 4 in a basketball game from 3, and then he'd be 1 for 7 the next night. And the 35% kind of reflects that. He can shoot the basketball, and like you said, he's got some bounce. If the Phoenix Suns were, if he was in the Golden State Warriors system, oh boy, right? I think this is a guy that is going to matter where he gets drafted.
Agreed.
He gets drafted in a team that doesn't fit the style of play. He can fall by the wayside and just disappear. But if he ends up on the right team, you might be surprised. So for that reason, I think he's more of a systematic fit than I like. That I prefer.
I think you said all of that well. That kind of aligns with my assessment of his game as well. I have a cause to pause when drafting players that are in a particular or specific role based off of whatever system they might be coming from on the collegiate level. Now, naturally, a role player from Kansas is going to hit different than a role player from insert mid-major, that might have popped up in the tournament here. So that context certainly matters, but I'm always weary just because you're not sure if that game is going to translate to your particular system. And when you talk about your being the Suns, you have a brand new coach that you're bringing in. Is he going to have time to bring this guy up to speed? That's assuming he's actually on the main roster.
Yeah.
Bring him up to speed in addition to installing the principles with everything else that he needs from the main rotation players. I think that becomes too much of a project to an extent. And actually, like I talked about, that's where the G League opportunity would certainly be optimized. But I'm not as high on him either as I am on some of the other names that we'll be speaking to. Yeah. I do see in the Golden State system, dude, that would be perfect. And to a lesser extent, with the way that they use movement and shooters with size, I think he would be someone that would work with Cleveland as well.
Oh, yes.
With assuming they keep their roster somewhat similar to what it is, and they got a new coach coming in as well. But fitting around everything that they have, he would be someone that thrives in the Cleveland type of system and context. But I just don't feel like the context of the Suns in their present state would really benefit kind of like what Flex was speaking to,
Yeah.
with him being with the Dubs.
Oh, I think it was very astute because I hadn't thought about how much that Coach Budenholzer is going to have to install just with everybody because
Yeah.
these all are guys
Mhm.
outside of Grayson who are pretty unfamiliar with what he's going to be bringing in here. So how much can you put into a guy that's 19 and try to coach him up early?
That's
So then any dividends are likely later in a season
Yeah.
with a guy like that as he gets up to speed, which is why I'm kind of intrigued with a few of the names coming up on the list. That they're older guys in terms of draft prospects.
Yeah.
And the next one is Baylor, and I'm going to butcher the last name. I practice it. I'm still going to Shireman.
Mhm.
They're from Creighton, 6'6", 6'8", wingspan, 205 pounds. Obviously, not being a freshman, his stats sound a little bit more impressive than the other guys. 18.5 points, 9 rebounds, 3.9 assists, shot almost 45% from the floor and 38% from deep. What I love, another guy does not care. Will pull from deep. Average 8.1 3-pointers per game. Stephen, what do you like about this guy? I'll spread the ball around a little bit.
Yeah.
We keep starting with Gerald. Stephen, why don't you give us a little bit?
You got to
of your
break up the mundaneness with your offense, point guard. You can't go to the same player every time. They're gonna
Get him
start
some
game planning
touches.
for that.
Yeah,
I'm over here. I'm open.
Well, you know what? I just, I'm like back in the day when the Lakers were just dumping it down to Kareem. I keep seeing Gerald, and I know the hook shot's gonna work.
Steven said the
I got
PHNX
you.
Suns need a point guard.
That's right. That's right. And I'm waving my hand. Right, like, hey, I'm
Take
moving.
it, take it, and give me your
Thank
thoughts
you,
here.
thank you. Yeah, kind of invert the offense a little bit. Nah, just looking at Shireman, my thing with him, kind of inversely from what we just spoke to before. Creighton's system, tons of movement,
Yes.
particularly for him.
Yeah.
You get a player like that makes him more adaptable to almost any context because naturally you can revert back to doing less movement. It's a lot harder to adjust to doing more movement. And he's, especially for a player that's smaller in stature, I think those things are important. So my biggest thing there is just coming from Creighton, being able to have those adaptable skills that you could take to the next level, movement shooting, shooting from different types of contexts. You talked about like curling hard off of screens. Like those little things like that, I think really matter when you're speaking to a player that's going to be more of a role player on this level. And even when they get to the peak of their superpowers, it's still going to be probably like a high-end role player at best. So you having those things at your foundation to translate to the next level, I think is important.
Yeah, no, I like this kid. I like him a lot. Now he's older, right? Is he 24?
He's going to turn 24 before his rookie year starts.
There we go. So we got a 24-year-old, but to Steven's point, when you look at him in the Creighton offense, they were very strategic in how they use. They moved him around a lot. They got him actions off the big. They get him actions here. He'll come off a lot of curls. This guy can shoot, man. And here's the thing, when you evaluate shooters, you look at their footwork, you look at their mechanics, you look at how they're getting the shot, you look at the different, how does he shoot it when he's wide open versus when he's getting closed out versus when he's curling. This freaking guy shoots the ball the same way it feels like off of any action. And I saw some tape where, I mean, this guy is running full speed off a curl. That's one of the toughest shots in basketball. He elevates, he gets into a shot, high volume, right? 8 a game. I mean, this team is depending on this guy to be a shooter. And in that system, when I'm watching actual game film of him, it's interesting because the defense knows what they're trying to do with him. But yet when you watch the game, it's like it didn't matter. This guy was able to get to his spots, run the offense, and get his shot up. So this is a guy that I think if you can get him in a trade back scenario, I got him as a second rounder on my board. You can get him in a second round situation or trade back. He can surprise people and actually be a rotational guy before the season's over, I think, because of the maturity and because of the unique skill set that he brings. It's going to be hard to keep him off the court. I like this guy.
Yeah, I think 22 might be a little high for him. But,
Yes.
I mean, 38% on 8 attempts is incredible. And I think one of the things that catches defenses off guard is his shot is unorthodox. So, like, a lot of times his body will be turned to the side and it'll be his left foot forward. So he doesn't have to square up to be able to get off a clean shot because that's his form.
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of caught some defenders off guard a little bit watching some of the film. But yeah, he's he's interesting to me. The biggest drawback is obviously he lacks burst. He lacks some athleticism, but he still shot 63% at the rim. So he's a guy that, I mean, anytime you get a guy who at the collegiate level was putting up 18, 9, and 4, that's a very well-rounded player. Like 6'6", averaging 9 boards per game. That's pretty impressive to me.
Damn impressive.
And on top of that, 4 assists per game. Like a lot of that's probably due to how he was used as well. But if you can provide that kind of connective tissue on the wing as a secondary playmaker, secondary creator, he's got a nice in-between game, so it's not just, threes or at the rim for him. He's interesting to me if you have a situation where you trade back, maybe get a pick in the early 30s. Yeah. He's a guy that I would have high on my board.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, what worries me about a guy like that with an unorthodox shot is there's always this, we need to fix this guy's form kind of thing.
Yeah, leave Baylor alone.
Yeah, leave that alone.
That's the thing. Yeah, don't mess with a guy if he can do it. I don't care how you do it, if you can get it. Sean Marion had one of the ugliest shots I've ever seen, but it got the job done, right? That's kind of like
Halliburton is not. If you look at Tyrese Halliburton's shot, and that's what his knock was in college. I mean, I think we've gotten past that now. I think teams are starting to realize, like, man, listen, back in the day, I think it was more prevalent. It's like, yo, we're going to reconstruct your shot. And now I think they're a little more open to, like, hey, man, listen, this is what you do. This is how you do it. As long as you can get it off, right? If your shot has a hitch in it and it's not allowing you to get it off, now we got to adjust. But if you can get it off, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to throw a name real quick out there because when I saw this guy, I'm like, this guy reminds me of this dude. I see Joe Ingles.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I see. I see Joe Ingles. I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, man, somebody going to end up with another Joe Ingles type dude. Okay. And so Joe Ingles a damn good basketball player when he was, at the younger stage of his career. So I like this kid. I think he's a bit of a diamond in the rough later on in this draft.
Flex, if he does have trouble getting it off, they got medication for that. Let's take a look at the super chat here. We got Flex's evil twin T-Rex. Always my favorite. Give me a POA defender. Don't get me with no zone. POA, piece of ass, right? Is that?
That's what he meant. That's what he meant.
Not at all.
That's why I assumed it was that.
No, I'm with you. I mean, listen, you want a point of attack defender. I think. I mean, that's a high thing. That's a need. That's something we need. So I see that.
All right. If you want to be part of an inner circle, Stephen, we're welcoming you into ours. But I got another one that you can join. Our friends over at Circle K. You join the inner circle, and you're going to get 25 cents off your first 5 fill-ups. So I don't know. You drive a lot in Chicago?
I do.
All right.
You got to.
Well, I mean, if you live in the city, you can walk.
That's true.
But if you're a commuter, you got to drive, and you need that gas at a good price. And it's not just the first 5 fill-ups. After that, you can get 3 cents off anytime you fill up. And once you get to be as cool as me, which you're getting there on this program, you can get 5 cents off as well. But that's not all. It's hot out here. I need you to stay hydrated, and I got a way to do it. They've got Polar Pops and Frosters, right? 79 cents. But if you join the inner circle, 69 cents.
Nice.
Thank you, gentlemen. So make sure to sign up for the Inner Circle app by downloading the free Circle K. Join Inner Circle by downloading the free Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And Saul's not on today, so.
Okay. Oh shit! You just had him
standing right there.
He's not on, so I don't care. He can hear it.
Oh boy.
Me bring Nookie Monster back.
Oh, he just turned around
for Stephen and for our friends at OG's.
He's closing the door. He just slammed the door.
Hey, that's his problem, not mine. People love this.
He just slammed the door and broke something
to Nookie Monster. I love OGs. They've got big OGs. It's 100 milligram THC gummy sliced into 10 milligram slices. It is delicious. It's like chocolate chip cookie, but with that THC. It hits oh so nice. But you may not know this about Cookie, Stephen. Or Nookie, not Cookie. Jim Henson Company, don't sue me. Nookie Monster
I'm gonna add him again.
Is vegan. Is a vegan. And they've got vegan gummies at OG's. They're all natural. They come in sweet clementine flavor. Oh, so good. So to learn more about OG's gummies and where to find them, head over to ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 or over to enjoy. And please enjoy responsibly.
Ooh, baby.
Need a glass of water?
No.
You good?
No. No.
It's like an earthquake behind
It's
the
just a
screen.
bonus when I can solve it. Let's take a look at our final two prospects on the wing. Again, we're getting into some guys that have played some extensive college ball. And the next one's Jaylon Tyson out of California, 6'7", with a 6'8" wingspan. He's a junior, averaged 19.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.2 steals, shot about 46. Well, no, not about. He shot 46.5% from the field, 36% from deep. Since Stephen made me feel like a bad point guard, I'm going to no-look pass it over to Flex and give me your thoughts here.
I've been waiting, dog, because I got frozen out. You think he got frozen out? It was like boom, boom. I'm like, wait, I'm dehydrated now? Like, what's going on?
Hold on a sec.
I'm joking, guys. Don't go crazy.
Steven's got athleticism. I know Gerald's there. You've had 3 back surgeries.
You're right.
You ain't my first offensive option.
I'm a sniper, though. I'm a sniper. Yeah,
There it is.
Go ahead.
There it is.
The floor's yours.
Listen, this kid's intriguing. Interesting body type. Strong, 6'6", 220. Got some creativity to his basketball game. We were talking off the show, and I looked at his tape. I love the way he backdoor cuts. He reads the game well. He's pretty cerebral in the way he attacks offenses. And when I looked at the tape, I'm like, man, this guy looks like Oregon Dylan Brooks with an offensive package. The physicality is there. The sneaky athleticism at the rim is there. He's an intriguing prospect. Again, a guy that if I'm trading back from 22, I don't know if I take him at 22, but if I'm trading back at 22, I got him on my board as a late first-round pick, borderline first day, like early second day. I tell you what, he's got some ability that can surprise people. And once again, I think in a college atmosphere, what I see when I look at his tape, just to wrap this up, sometimes in college, the system that you're playing and the defenses that colleges are allowed to play, it shrinks the court in a way. And I think this is going to be a guy that when he comes to the league and the game opens up a little bit and the floor opens up a little bit, he can be a little bit better or significantly better than what you're seeing in college, and he's a good college basketball player. So, again, a sneaky guy.
Hold on. Sneaky athleticism is the biggest backhanded compliment
Is it really?
in draft time. It's like, you look like you wouldn't be able to do shit athletically.
Devin's got
but you
sneaky
can.
athleticism.
Yeah.
Booker's a sneaky athletic guy, though. Am I correct?
Yeah, ask Anthony Davis.
There you go.
Remember
There you go. You remember that? Yeah.
Never forget that.
That's right.
Stephen, I've never been accused of being sneakily athletic, but what do you make of this guy?
I think
He'll
I
take a
think
mean
Flex
charge.
made a great point when speaking to space. I think that's something that's important to think about for any wing that can put the ball on the deck. What Flex is speaking to in college basketball, most defenses are playing heavy blocks and elbows.
Yeah.
So everybody's sitting at those 4 corners of the paint, and you got the one defender that's indirectly in front of the ball.
That's right.
Naturally, you put him in a system where, again, projecting forward, assuming he's on like the main roster, Kevin Durant's in the strong corner, Devin Booker's 1 pass away,
Yep.
and the low man's got Bradley Beal to worry about.
Yep.
Who's getting helped off of? And then you got somebody setting a screen for you. There's a lot more space. You can breathe a lot better.
Yes.
And when you play, like we talked about, at the tempo at which he does,
Yeah.
he's not Anthony Edwards in terms of getting downhill with a full head of steam. He's also not like prime Paul Pierce in terms of, or Joe Johnson for Suns fans.
Ooh, great.
He's kind of more balanced in that respect in terms of the pace that he plays at, and it changes the pace even more so. I think those will all be greatly optimized, playing with more space, playing with people that can hold attention of defenses around them. I think the other big thing with me that stands off of looking at the film, California has a lot of scripted cuts in their offense, where when the ball swings to a specific part of the floor and they're not running a direct offense that's scripted, somebody's cutting automatically from that backside to create new space and to get the defense to start rotating. It's when it's scripted and you're doing it in college, it just feels kind of mundane. But when it's ingrained in your habits as a basketball player, Now you're going to start seeing the game differently. And again, coming back to space, when you're moving like that, and now Kevin Durant's able to rise up from the corner and somebody has to help off of your cut, you're creating offense. And that's all done without the ball. You talk about players that are going to be optimized with the Suns down the line. Those players are not going to have the ball in their hands to the extent that they do in college. So speaking to all of those little things in advantage creation and manipulation of defenses, all stemming from the conversation about spacing and the lack thereof on the collegiate level, I think those things translate extremely well.
Gerald, did I officially ISO you out enough?
No, you're good. I'm still on a heater over here. I'm ready.
That's right.
Never afraid to have the hot hand. No, but I think so. I'm going to start with what worries me about him, and then why I'm overlooking those concerns, because I think he does have the potential to be a 3-level scorer at the next stage. I was watching some of his highlights, and I was like, shit, like this dude can create in the mid-range, pull-up game. He's got really a great handle for a guy his size. He's not overly quick, but he can get to his step back because he has very precise footwork in terms of he knows what he wants to do. And sometimes I think that got him in trouble because he was already in his mind. He knew what he wanted to do with the pass or with the shot. And sometimes it led to him like throwing a pass into tight coverage or, a defender stuck with him and he didn't have an option because he'd already committed to what he was doing. So I think that improves at the next level where he's not asked to do as much as he was asked to do at Cal. Like, I think scaling down his offense is going to help a ton at the NBA level because that could help drive up his efficiency a little bit. And he does have flashes of being able to get to the rim, of being able to get to his spots in the mid-range, of being a good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter as well. I think he'll spend more time off the ball at the next stage. He doesn't really address what the Suns need, which is like a 3-and-D wing, which is why I might have him a little bit lower. I don't think 22 is the right pick for him. But if you trade back a few spots and he's still there, we already know the Suns had him in for a workout. Like, he's a guy that's probably on their radar to some degree. Yeah. So, you got to think not just what can he add to this current stage. It's what do we do 2 to 3 years from now when Kevin Durant and or Bradley Beal might not be on the team anymore.
That's right.
Like, it can't just be we got to draft a guy who helps his current iteration. It's he can help this team. And beyond that, he can be a helpful piece with Devin Booker. I think I could see that for him at the next stage, even though right now a lot of what he brings to the table feels kind of superfluous.
Good
Damn, that's
vocab
a nice
word.
word right there.
You are on a heater, Mr.
Wow.
We've reached the final man on our wings list. Tristan de Silva from Colorado, a 6'9" wing with a 6'10" wingspan, a senior out there, averaged 16 points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.1 steals, shot 49.3% from the floor, 39.5% from deep. And you know what? I'm going to be in my Steve Francis, Stephon Marbury era. Oh. And I'm going to ISO all you out.
Take it himself.
Do it. No, throw it
I'm
off
not
the
going to take it
backboard.
myself.
Yeah, throw it off the
I'm
backboard
not
to
gonna
yourself.
Look,
Let's go.
This is a guy that likely won't be in that 22 range. Right? Because people are projecting him in that 12 to 18 range. But it could be a great value if he's one of those guys that slides for some reason. If a couple guys jump up the board in these late workouts and things shift a little, you could wind up at 22 with a real high value guy. And good with the off the ball cutting, pretty good from deep. I like kind of what I'm seeing here, especially because of his, because he's a guy that can come in and help right away.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm going to toss you the lob off the backboard there because
look at that.
Because he had a great comparison that I didn't really even think of. I went through all the film. I was looking at stats and everything, watching it, and then Stephen hit me with the NBA comparison. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's right.
Let me get ready.
All it took, it was literally my first 30 seconds, and I was like, oh. And I'm waiting for your reaction.
On,
so I'm going to dish it to you after I say the name, and you go ahead and tee it off. Nicholas Batum.
Ooh, baby. No, bro. I see it. I definitely see it. That wasn't the guy I'm saying, but damn, do I see it. Go ahead, break it down, brother.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's first of all, the stature. I think there's alignment there with the stature. And then with De Silva, the other big thing is the ability to create off the dribble. He could be a connector and do things without the dribble, but the ability to do things at a specific tempo with the ball in his hands, I think is important as well. And then the other big thing that I was looking at with him, that stature and the versatility that it at least gives you in potential on the other side of the floor. And being able to plug gaps and be a help defender, showing in the driving lanes, and also being able to provide, like we talk about with Kevin Durant often, that secondary rim protection. It's a lot harder to do that, as we're seeing with the Dallas Mavericks, because of how the Celtics are manipulating them when it's not P.J. Washington, when it's not one of your other forwards or centers that's at that position to help over. So to have more pieces that can do those type of athletic things is extremely important. Again, that's a potential thing with Silva, but I think that's something that he could get to, because he does have a certain level of care factor with his game that I feel would translate well to the league.
All right, can I go?
Yeah.
Let's go. So listen, I fucking love the Nick Batum. I love that. And here's the thing. Guys, go back and look at Nick Batum. He was a fantastic basketball player. We're not talking about the older version. We're talking about this guy that was, for a long time, causing havoc in the league. I will say this: when I look at that, I'm going to give you a higher. I'm gonna elevate the comparison a little bit.
Okay.
I think he can be Nick Batum, but if he hits all his strides, I see a little bit of two players in him. One, the Suns are gonna love. If you're watching this and you're gonna hear me say this, I see some Cam Johnson in this kid. Okay. I do. I see some Cam Johnson in him. His ability, because I think the most underrated thing about Cam Johnson was we knew he could shoot, but Cam was a decent defender. Okay, and he had the ability to actually be an asset for you defensively. When I look at Silva, he's got some work to do, but I see the attributes, and I'm saying this guy could come in day one with his maturity. The highest attribute I have for him when watching this tape is his basketball IQ. Smart as hell. Smart as hell, knows how to get his shots, knows how to collapse a defense, knows how to make the extra pass. He doesn't ever look like rushed or rattled when I see him play. Just look very cerebral. So it's a little bit of Cam Johnson. And then for some reason, y'all could tell me if I'm wrong, but damn, do I see a little bit of Kyle Kuzma in him.
Okay.
I see a little bit of Kyle Kuzma in him. There's times where I see him where he'll turn his back to the basket, hit a little shoulder roll, hit a nice little midi. He operates in an area where I'm like, man, this guy could do a little bit of everything. He can get to the rack, he can play in the mid-range, and he can shoot the three ball. And for that reason, I'm like, dude, he got a little Kyle in him for me.
And then real quick. So you mentioned the cerebral part.
Yes.
I didn't do my job fully, because you can't mention Nick Batum as a comp for anybody without starting up here.
That's right.
And the one thing that I think, and this is no slight to the Dallas Mavericks, but they get to this stage against this particular team, the discrepancy in IQ collectively, comprehensively, was not as significant in the prior 3 rounds as it is on this championship stage. Right, you look at the main rotation players for the Celtics, high IQ after high IQ after high IQ. The Mavericks just don't have that particular dynamic. So when it comes to thinking the game through, all of these games have been relatively close. You get to that point where the 5 minutes at the end of the game becomes a game in and of itself. This up here is what really wins those games more often than not. So that's the type of player, when you're making a Nick Batum comp, that's going to be something that's an asset past any other physical attribute that they can add to the game.
You don't play 20 years in the NBA unless you got it up here.
Not at all.
No, and it stands out on the film, especially with his passing. Like, he only averaged 2.4 assists or something like that, but you can see the way that he gets into the lane on drives and knows where the ball needs to go. He throws really nice, like, one-handed wraparound passes to open shooters in the corner, or bounce passes even to bigs that are rolling there. He's got a really good feel for the game, and that's something that you look at him defensively, like, yeah, there are areas for improvement, but because he understands the game, because he feels it very well, he's a guy that you project, especially with his size, he's 6'9", 6'10" wingspan, will be able to hold his own, at least on that end of the floor. He's not a lockdown, wing perimeter stopper type guy, but if he can play the 3 or the 4, play 2 positions, and his shot is pure. Like, it's beautiful. Like, it very much is like a Nick Batum high release, beautiful rotation. The results, like the splashes, they're really nice to look at. It's aesthetically pleasing to watch this guy shoot the basketball. So he's got very noticeable skills that will translate to the next level right away. He is older. He's 23. But like we've talked about, you could use a guy that can come in on the wing, play multiple positions, and do a little bit of everything and be a threat as a catch and shoot guy as well. Silva checks a lot of the boxes that the Suns should be looking for. Unfortunately, he's a guy that if you want him, you might have to find a way to trade up a few spots, because he could be going in those teens somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you get him at 22, I don't think he's Silva. think it's the gold.
The gold. That's right. That's right.
Look at that. Get one last dad joke in before the end of the program. If you're in here, hit the like button. Come on.
The like button.
That's the simplest thing you can do to tell Stephen he did a good job.
Tell him, point guard.
Today.
That's right.
So hit that
That's right.
like button. That's the end of our program. You can follow Stephen. And this is going to sound like I'm trying to code something, but I promise you, this is his Twitter handle. It's at StayTrueS.3.
There you go.
Yeah.
Flex, do you have something?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
say something
I
before.
got to say this because you just gave his Twitter handle.
Mhm.
Hey, guys, listen to me. This guy's terrific, man. Like, for real, this guy's terrific.
Thank you.
His level of basketball knowledge is incredible. This is a pleasure to be here with him today. Y'all need to really tap into this dude, and hopefully we'll be doing more work together. This guy knows his stuff, man. So I just want to say
Appreciate it.
that because it's the first time I worked with him, and I could feel the energy and I could feel the vibe. It's great to do work like this.
I agree with
Appreciate
everything you said, but I'm also pissed off because it's the nicest thing you said about anybody ever on the program. And we all been sitting here with it for a year.
I gave G his love immediately. I'm still waiting on you.
Yeah,
Bro.
eventually
That's because
we'll-
you gave me the ball last.
Eventually,
Right, see?
I'm going to do that every time I'm hosting now. Stephen, though, no, definitely give him a follow. His breakdowns, everything he does is spectacular. If you want, you can give a Flex a follow at Flex from Jersey. Give Gerald a follow at Gerald Bourget because the poor man is writing like 9 hours a day into the wee hours of the night, trying to give you the insight and the takes that you deserve in this. So follow him and then share his work, like he said earlier.
Yep.
Otherwise, it really hurts his feelings. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Espone. Remember, wings are better with sauce, but they're even better when they can shoot a three-pointer. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.